Why do people on the internet have to take photography so seriously? Even I'm guilty of this, but I've realized the one thing photographers just don't do is show their honest process, as boring or as simple as it may be. And that's kind of all we care about. Today, we're entering a mobile photography contest called Vision Plus, and our objective is to capture the motion. So today, we're gonna walk around my home island of Oahu and just watch my genuine process of finding images that I feel capture the motion. It's pretty much the same process I've had since I was like 9 years old. You just kind of walk around, get lost, and allow yourself to find photos using the tools and features you have at your fingertips. Like the slow shutter mode I used here to create this dope dirt biking image. But today I'm shooting on the vivo X60 Pro Plus that I made a video about a few months ago. It's a 50 megapixel powerhouse that has a 14, 23, 50, and 125 millimeter Zeiss optics. But regardless of what you're shooting on, my real life process doesn't change. You have to have fun first, like as much fun as humanly possible, because, well, happiness is contagious, and like, why not? It's just photography. It helps me to clear my mind and just look at what's right in front of me. And that's where I find my shots. This keeps me from missing shots in the present because I'm thinking about all the other shots that I might find in the future. It also doesn't hurt that I live in Hawaii. But regardless, I've had to learn how to do this everywhere. It just happens to be easier here. You just have to learn to make your limitations into your strengths. For instance, since there's not a ton of sports that take place on dry land on this island, I had to get creative when it came to finding images that celebrate motion, since you would normally just shoot football, baseball, soccer. So I called my buddy Dan, who's a professional cliff jumper, and asked if he'd be willing to send it for the video. Luckily, he's an absolute madman and didn't really require a lot of convincing. I, on the other hand, am not the biggest fan of heights, and I had to do what he was doing, but not jump, which was almost harder. Okay, Sawyer. What's the worst that could happen? Oh God, I'm shaking. And then of course, I knew I had to climb down the cliff as well. You've got to remember, photography isn't just always about capturing the image in your head. Sometimes you're not going to have an image in your head. And that's when it becomes all about just using the tools you have in your environment. And since I wanted to convey a sense of scale and height, I decided I had to get as low as I could below my subject. And I'm honestly so glad I did, because it placed my subject perfectly in the sky instead of losing him in the rocks. Then I almost got taken off the rocks.
We got one more. Let's get it.
We got one more. Let's hear it.
And I actually ended up landing on a running shot behind him using the 48 megapixel ultra wide gimbal camera that gave the photograph a sense of movement itself. I was pleased. So more on the fact that my process for photography is just kind of walking around and getting lucky. I honestly think this is because I started photography at such a young age that I couldn't drive or choose where I was anyway. So I just learned to shoot what was ever in front of me. And this turned out to be a massive blessing, because as I got older, I started hearing people say, well, we should drive here for a good photo. And I remembered thinking, well, sure, driving to the Grand Canyon ensures you're going to get a good photo, but we can also take a good photo here. Let me demonstrate. When I started this day, I was dead set on getting a shot of volleyball players. I had a great idea in my head, but when I got to the volleyball court, there was nobody there. But you can still get creative as long as you're willing to possibly look like an idiot. So I set up my camera on a little tripod so I could easily stitch the photos later, and one by one I jumped into the position of each player and waited for the photo to go off. But here was the point. We've got to stop judging as photographers what photos are going to be good and bad before we take them. The truth is, photography contests are not just about the quality of your image, but also the creativity behind it. The more we can allow ourselves to play and possibly look foolish, the easier it'll be for us to make a photo that's just genuinely different. Something I know almost every creator struggles with. And since I used Pro Sports Mode, the photo turned out so crisp that once it was stitched, it didn't look nearly as ridiculous as I thought it would. I was only 3 hours into my day and already had like 4 photos that I wanted to submit to the contest. So I started heading inland. Now, a huge key to winning photography contests and being creative in photography in general is to just remember your limitations at all times. I'm not joking when I say limitations are your best friend. Today, our image has to capture the motion, so we need to train our eyes as photographers to hunt out motion. For instance, a huge floppy dog that loves to jump and happens to have a frisbee. Once you have all those elements, just let go and have fun. Remember that just because you take a photo does not mean that you're going to be forced to use it. However, if you don't take the photograph, you don't have a choice in the matter at all. And as every self-help book has been trying to tell you your whole life, just move on. Don't worry about if you got it perfect. That's the best part about having a fun approach to photography, is you never have to take it too seriously. Also, it really helps to edit as you go. This way you kind of have an idea if what you're imagining is working or not. Just keep having fun and make small adjustments to your ideas. Sooner or later you'll get onto something. Like when I realized while our first dirt bike shot was cool, if I took that same concept and used the long exposure mode and was traveling next to the bike, we could have a really cool image. So I had to find a ride. Hey, will you pick up my bike from my house and meet me in the tunnels? I've got an idea. So my friend didn't have to do anything but ride my bike, and he used to be a professional racer, so it wasn't a huge deal. But since I was traveling at the same speed he was, I was able to use a combination of the ultra-wide gimbal camera with the long exposure mode to keep him sharp in frame while dragging out the entire background, creating what I consider to be an incredible look. And it was kind of cool because the only reason I even thought of this shot was because I saw our first dirt bike image. It's weird to see how you start to figure out what you're looking for as the day goes on. So even though I was now super confident that I had enough to enter the contest, I was already in downtown and figured, let's have a look around. Just keep walking, Sawyer Gump. And it always happens that, like, right as you're thinking of quitting, you just happen to find another shot. A shot that's so good, you're like, okay, maybe I will keep going. Meanwhile, we're now 6 hours in and it's 97 degrees out. And for some reason, I'm wearing jeans and boots. But the people in the images are stoked, which is a great indicator. That's actually a good tip. If you show the people that you're taking pictures of the photos and they're not that excited about it, you should step something up. Maybe try a different angle or a different location, but keep walking, you'll figure it out. And then in the middle of the city, I found an actual basketball court with an actual human being playing basketball. I couldn't believe it because it's Hawaii and there's waves today. I ended up going with a low-angle portrait mode shot, trying to replicate like an old-school basketball card like I had in my memory as a kid. Again, I have no idea if I accomplished that, but the image turned out looking cool, and that's all that really matters. Now, naturally, in your adventure, there's gonna come a time where you lose track of what you're doing. You're gonna have completely forgotten about capture the motion, and you're gonna find yourself taking selfies with silhouetted statues in the middle of a city. This is the indicator that I use that my day has come to a close, and I should probably start heading home. The indicator is not my physical energy levels, but the fact that my creative energy levels have now depleted. And luckily for me, I have done this enough in my life that I knew I would be way too tired to walk home, so I talked my beautiful girlfriend into driving and waiting for me by the water so that I could get her to romantically, of course, drive me home. Which brings us to now. 9.5 long hours from when we originally set out this morning shooting this video. But I think this has been an incredibly successful shoot day, not just for the photos we were able to capture, but the enjoyment level of actually going out and capturing them. As you know, like creators, we don't talk about this enough, but for some reason, whenever we set out to do something, it feels infinitely harder. This method, this returning to my roots of just going out into the world with a camera and a brief. The brief is important. The capture the motion is always what's so important to me. And that's why I love photography contests, award things in general. It's all about a brief. It's most cinematic, best use of color, most creative framing. That's something we can play with. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you've made it this far, you probably are interested in entering this contest as well. So I will put all of the information down below about the Vision Plus Awards contest that Vivo is actually putting on, as well as if you guys want to check out the phone that I was using, the Vivo X60 Pro Plus, I will put all of the links down there as well. It's got the Zeiss, it's got T coating, so there was like no optical aberrations. Incredible lens quality, and the Snapdragon 888 processor just ripped through the images. It did absolutely incredible, both in burst mode, pro sports mode, pro mode, which is what I used a lot of, so I could control every aspect of the camera like it's a traditional DSLR. Now, the photo that I'm choosing to submit as my contest entry, I actually narrowed it down to 2. I'm having a really hard time choosing between them. They're both so different, but yet so simple. It's between this image right here and this image right here. I love them both because I think they both really represent capturing the motion, especially the motorcycle shot, but it's such an easy shot to capture. It's up to you guys. What do you think? Please leave it down in the comments. I'll be submitting. And again, if you guys want to enter this contest, there are tons of categories. It's not even really like a contest, just like a friendly competition amongst peers. But I'd recommend it. It gets the creative juices flowing, and it could be exactly what you need to like knock the dust off of all these like pandemic skills. And if my photography process was different than something you use or have ever tried before in the past, may I just please recommend going and trying it immediately so that you can see the benefits of what it's like to actually have fun again. And as always, Vivo, thank you for being a sponsor of this channel. Your support means absolutely everything to us, as well as you've made one beast of a phone, so it's pretty easy to recommend. And other than that, I'm gonna go sleep for a while because I probably covered a good 8-9 miles today, and I've got to turn around and start next week's video. So I love you guys very much. Smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.